Okay, this is a tutorial on how to complete a 1040EZ. So first off, let's read our information that we're going to need in order to prepare this 1040EZ. Last year, I'm a Rebel, a single teacher, made $46,624.72 in total wages, salaries, and tips. She had $9,375 of income tax withheld. Her taxable interest was $1,108.13. No one was able to claim Miss Rebel as a dependent on his or her tax return. What that means, she's not living with mom and dad. She is on her own. She's taking care of herself. She resides at 5463 Winding Road, Maryville, Tennessee 37804, and her social security number is 123121234. So where did we get these numbers? These first two numbers, 46,000 and the 9,000 that's withheld. She got those numbers from her W-2, wage and tax statement. This is provided by the employer, and they provide it also to the Internal Revenue Service. It looks like Miss Rebel's employer is Maryville City Schools. You'll see her social security number on it. But here's the things that you need to be looking for: wages, tips, and other compensation. That's how much money, taxable money, that she earned in the calendar year. Box 2 shows us the federal income tax withheld. Where did you get the interest income? First Tennessee Bank, she evidently has an extremely favorable interest rate or a large amount of money sitting in the bank. But she has earned $1,108.13 in interest income. That is the money that the bank is paying her. So let's start our tax return. What we'll need is we will need her name. We will need her address, her social security number, and that should be it. So let's go ahead and fill out the top part. We don't have a middle initial, so we'll just leave that blank. Rebel, her social is 123121234. Her address is 5463 Winding Road, Maryville, Tennessee 37804. The only other thing that we need to know in order to do this tax return is whether or not she wants to contribute $3 to the Presidential Election Fund. Check yes, check no. It doesn't change the refund amount, or it doesn't change the amount that you owe at all. If I'm a Rebel was married, we would put her husband's name in here where it says spouse's first name and initial. We would also put his social security number. But since I'm a Rebel is single, then we won't have that in there. Okay, the next section is income, wages, salaries, and tips, which is shown in box 1 of our Form W-2. So going over to your Form W-2, that's box 1 of our Form W-2. We also have that information right here in our instructions. So $46,624.72 is what we have for wages, tips, and salaries. Line 2, taxable interest. That is interest that is paid to you by the bank. We find that on our 1099 INT box 1, $1,108.13. We also have it in our instructions here. Taxable interest was $1,108.13. Unemployment compensation. It doesn't say anything in our instructions, so we're going to say that that is 0. Line 4, add lines 1, 2, and 3. This is your adjusted gross income when we've been talking in class, AGI. That's the same thing. So if we add that together, it is $47,732.85. Now, line 5, it says, if someone can claim you or your spouse, if a joint return, as a dependent, check the applicable boxes and complete the worksheet on the back. That is not the case for her, because it says in our instruction, no one was able to claim Miss Rebel as a dependent on his or her tax return. So, here's what we're going to do. If no one can claim you or your spouse, we're going to enter $97.50 if we're single, $19,500 if we're married filing joint. So since she is single, that's $9,750 that we'll enter on line 5. And then line 6 says subtract line 5 from line 4. And that amount comes to $37,982.85. Going on to the next section, federal income tax withheld. Where do we find that information? It is on our W-2. Box 2, federal income tax withheld. It is also in our instructions down here. She had $9,375 in income tax withheld. So we're going to write $9,375 in income tax withheld. Earned income credit. Because I told you so, it's going to be 0. And line 9, add lines 7 and 8A. That's your total payments and credits. $9,375. Okay, line 10 is where it gets fun. It says tax. Use the amount on line 6 above to find your tax in the tax table in the instructions. Then enter the tax from the table on this line. Well, first of all, let's see what line 6 is. Line 6 is the taxable income. And it's $37,982.85. So we need to find what our tax is using our taxable income amount. Let's go to our tax rate schedules. And the first thing we need to do is decide which of these two schedules, Schedule X or Schedule Y, Y1, are we going to use? Well, we need to use Schedule X because I'm a Rebel is single. And so now that we've decided which of these schedules to use, we need to decide which line to use. Well, our taxable income was $37,982.85. That was our taxable income found on line 6. So it says here, if our taxable income is over this amount, but not over this amount, that's how it's going to tell us which line to use. It's over 0, and it's also over $8,700, so we know not to use that line. It's also over $35,350. So we know that we're going to use this third line because our taxable income of $37,900 is in between $35,350 and $85,650. So we know we're supposed to use this third line right here. This next column, this side of the schedule, tells us how we're going to calculate our tax. So it says here, the tax is $4,867.50 plus 25% of the amount over $35,350. So the first thing we're going to have to figure out is how much of our taxable income is over $35,350. So let's work backwards. To do this, we take $37,982.85, our taxable income, and we're going to subtract $35,350. That comes to $2,632.85. So that's the amount over $35,350. What are we supposed to do with that amount? We're supposed to take 25% of it. So to get 25% of that, we multiply it by 0.25, which gives us $658.21. And then after we get that, we're supposed to add $4,867.50 to it. $4,867.50, and we'll add that to it to get our taxes of $5,525.71. Some of our students like to do this by setting up an algebraic equation. If we do that, here's how we do it. We take this information on line 3, and we say 4867.50 plus 25% of the amount over 35,350. So of our taxable income minus 35,350. At this point, we just use our order of operation to solve the equation. We do our parentheses first, we do our multiplication next, and then we do our addition last. If we do that, it solves for $5,525.71. So let's enter that on line 10 of our tax return. $5,525.71. Okay, so what it looks like is we've paid in a little better than $9,000, and our tax liability is $5,500. And so what are we going to do? Are we going to have to pay, or are we going to get a refund here on April 15th? Looks like we're going to get a refund. So since line 9 is larger than line 10, we're going to subtract line 10 from line 9, which comes to $3,849.29. Since line 10 is not larger than line 9, we just leave this blank. We don't write anything there. So on 11A and on 12, you will either write something down on 11A or line 12, depending on whether you get a refund or whether you owe. The last thing we do when we do our tax return is we need to sign it. So let's sign Ima's name. Of course, you would never sign somebody else's tax return, but for our purposes in this class, we'll do so. She is a teacher, let's say, and her daytime phone number. Oops. Well, we brought her daytime phone number down. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.